traders, welcome to another Monday download. I can't say good morning because by the time you get this, it'll probably be afternoon on Monday. And part of the reason is this last weekend I went backpacking. I took Friday off and we went to, a friend of mine and I went to the Cascades and did a 3-day backpacking trip up into the mountain Alpine Lakes wilderness area, which was absolutely beautiful, so worth all the time and effort to pack in there. And if you're into the outdoors at all and you have never done a backpacking trip, you really should do it. It's exerting physically. You're able to get away from all of the craziness of life, especially us as real estate professionals dealing with kind of the chaos of real estate transactions. It really helps kind of center yourself and get all that stuff away. You can't take phone calls because your cell phone won't work. And so anyway, I recommend it highly. But let's get into our download today and get down to business. So let's start off by talking about the importance of a title report. Obviously, all of us know that there's an importance of a title report, but when it comes to short sales, we need to know what is on title and how it's going to affect the transaction. And we really need to know that at the beginning. And the reason that is important is because what is on title not only affects the short sale in general, but what is on title versus how much the property is going to sell for, and some of the different variables may or may not determine if the property is worth listing at all. And so we recommend that you pull title from the very beginning and see what's on there. If you've got a property that's going to sell for $40 or $50 or even $60,000 and you have 4 or 5 liens on that property, it probably is not even going to be worth doing anything with. Because by the time you pay off all the different parties, that first mortgage is going to take such a small percentage of the sale price that they're probably not going to approve it, and the other liens aren't going to release in most situations for zero. And so analyzing the title report and what the different judgments and liens on title are versus what the value of the property is going to be really important to do. Another example is FHA. Because FHA has a certain percentage that they have to receive on that first mortgage position, if there are multiple liens on a property and it's too small, it doesn't even have to be 5 or 6. I mean, literally with 3 liens on a property, if you've got a really small purchase price and FHA guidelines for percentages, there's no way to make it work. By the time the third mortgage releases for what they're requiring, in addition to what the second mortgage is requiring, the first mortgage doesn't have enough to be able to approve it. And so by hitting that at the very beginning and strategizing together, we can determine if it's worth you even taking the time and energy and money to market the property from the very beginning. The other thing is that we can't send out a short sale package without updated title. If the first time the title company is seeing a request to open title is when we have an offer on the table, which in some areas that's just how it works because they charge you fees to open title and different things. But just be aware that if we don't get title ordered until we have an offer, there is going to be a delay depending on how quickly the title company can pull that title report together. Now we update title when we get an offer in, but that usually only takes 24 hours because they've already done most of the research. They're checking out anything from the last time they pulled title to this current date, which is usually only a couple months, and it's a lot quicker for them to do that. So the importance of title in your short sale, make sure you get it. Make sure you get it as early as possible. And if you see more than just a first and a second mortgage on title, give us a phone call, or we'll be giving you a phone call in most scenarios to go over it with you and just say, hey, let's strategize about this property and make sure this is worth your time. Let's talk about a short sale approval form, and I don't have one with me here today, but that's all right. You're going to be seeing these. And what the short sale approval form is a new form that we've created. It's not something that you have to have as far as like submitting paperwork or anything like that. It's not an additional form for you. What it is it's a template form that will be coming to you with every single full approval on your short sales. And when I say full approval, I mean all liens having approved the short sale transaction. And what it will do is it will break out what the purchase price on the property is, what the agent commissions have been approved at, if there's any concessions from the agent commissions, or buyers or sellers or alliance or anybody that's having to bring extra money or take a reduction in their fee or commission in order to facilitate the transaction. All of that's going to be on there. When the drop dead date is, basically your closest short sale approval letter, when we have to close by. Those kind of things are going to be on there, and all it is really is just a higher level of communication. You see notes come through, but this is a summary of everything that needs to happen, and that the point is to have the higher level of communication and to avoid any miscommunications that can come via notes, emails, telephone calls, all those kind of stuff. By having it in writing as a cover letter with the truncated approval letters and the HUD that will be going to the closing agent, just having it all right there so that you can see here's exactly what's going on. And that way, if there is some miscommunication or something's not going to work based on how the bank has approved it, then we know about it at the very beginning before we get to the closing table. So just again, an improvement that we've made to get a higher level of communication about these approvals to you as we're negotiating your short sales. And then finally, I just want to talk briefly about lease agreements. When you have an owner-occupied property where someone has moved out and you have a buyer on the property and it's been taking a while to get the short sale approved, what if the buyer wants to lease the property prior to closing from the seller? That has happened, and agents have called me and said, well, what about this? The buyer wants to lease the property. Well, let's talk about it. First of all, I'm going to say talk to your broker, because you need to know in your area what the risks are just in general with doing that, and how your broker feels about that, because she or he will be guiding you according to what they want you to do. So talk to your broker first. The second thing is it does keep the buyers on board. So if it takes a little extra time to negotiate a short sale and this person's already sold their home or their lease is up on their current place and they need a place to stay, it gives them a place to not just move into, but a place that they want to buy anyway. And so we've had situations where the transaction took longer than expected, but because the buyer was living in the home, they were okay with that. I mean, they were fine. They were living in the house. One thing I will say is that the seller needs to talk to legal counsel about what do they do with the money. If there's rent that's being exchanged, the seller or the buyer is paying the seller rent, and the seller's not paying their mortgage, what do you do with that? I mean, technically that's equity skimming if they keep that money. So they need to talk to an attorney or some legal counsel, which I guess would always be an attorney, about what to do with those funds. And some people have been advised to keep those funds in like a separate account so that at closing they can give those funds as an additional payoff to the lender. Or perhaps if the lender is asking for funds at closing or asking for a promissory note or something like that, they can utilize those funds to pay toward that, even potentially negotiating the notes away. So those are some ideas and things that people have been advised in the past to do. The one thing that you need to be aware of is that there is a risk that the short sale will not be approved and that the property will go to foreclosure. If that happens, now there is a tenant in the property who, if it goes to foreclosure, will be displaced. So they need to understand this isn't a guarantee. If it does fall apart, you're going to have a period of time after the foreclosure auction happens, depending on your depending on your state regulations, a period of time before they have to move. And so as long as the buyer is okay with that risk and they say, well, at this point we don't have a place to go anyway, this is the best situation for us, that's great. Just be aware that that is a risk and something that all the parties need to be needs to be brought to their attention. So that is what I have for today. I hope you are enjoying your summer. I cannot believe that July is almost over. We're moving into August. It's crazy. Kids are going to be starting school here soon. In Spokane here, we have absolutely awesome weather. We've been in the mid to upper 90s for the last several days and absolutely love it. So we don't have the humidity that some of you have, which means it's not nearly as hot as even your 70 and 80 degrees are with the humidity. We have nice dry heat. So, all right, have a great week. If you need anything from us, give us an email, give us a call. We want to strategize on your files so that we can continue to find short sale success. All right, have a great one, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.